all for being here this morning. First item is the approval of the minutes of the previous meeting. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Seeing none, the minutes are approved. Next, we have the number 1 on the agenda, which is the Emergency Communications 911 resolution with the town of Cicero. Good morning, Commissioner.
Good morning. Good. Brought our radio guru, Sean Sparks. He's going to talk about this one. He's been working on this with Ben Yass real closely. Go ahead.
Good morning. The Town of Cicero Highway Department has approached us to co-locate their highway repeater on the Pompey Tower site. We've reviewed the current loading of the tower. It's well within the limits. We developed a license agreement and came up with the annual rent, which was $3,600, which we consider that to be fair to offset maintenance on the tower that they would use, the electricity that they would use, and basically my services to make sure the care and feeding of everything is all set. So that's what we're looking to do today.
I think your service is worth a lot more than $36, just for the record.
Make that check out to cash, Rich.
When you say care and feeding, I get care. When you say feeding, can you?
Well, I mean, that's just, I'm at the tower sites at least once a month and kick the tires, make sure things are adequate. If I see, I'm always looking for issues with co-locates that are up there. So if I'm walking through the tower site and I see there might be a problem with the state DOT repeater, I'll give their radio person a call and say, hey, you've got this issue. You might want to come up and take a look at it.
Okay.
So eyes on, I guess, would be the best way to describe it. Yeah.
Okay. Yep. I appreciate that. And we talked earlier, but we're gonna start looking at the other ones that might need to be updated.
Yeah. So there are some. Currently at the Pompey Tower, we have New York State in the DOT and Parks have repeaters up there. But there are some other repeaters that are at Pompey that have been there for decades, long before any of us were probably in public service. Most of them were arranged with the sheriff's office 4 sheriffs ago. So we'd like to look at memorializing those and trying to get those formalized. But I've been working with Ben from the law department to work on getting all of that taken care of.
Okay, good. Legislature, we just started, and the first item was just the agreement with the town of Cicero for a use of the tower of Pompey. So we're just explaining that right now. So,
Thank you. I read the agenda.
yeah.
If I'm probably going to be coming with another local law about the Eagle Point Farms Pompey communication tower that we had another resolution for to exercise the option to purchase. I've been negotiating with the farm owner. We've come out with what I think is a very reasonable outcome, which we presented in the local law. But this is a different communication tower also located in Pompey, but there will be another local law presented to, I think, believe Ways and Means about that resolution. So I just wanted to
We did
set
that.
the stage.
That was Elbridge.
Yeah, I know, but we did one similar in
Yeah.
Elbridge, correct?
Yep, and that one I'm superseding that prior resol because the option to purchase ruffled some feathers, and now we've come out with a mutually agreeable solution that I think will work for everyone. So.
Okay. Any other questions on?
I'll make a motion.
Need a second? Second. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next is the personnel resolution from the sheriffs, Chief Dell and Chief Murphy.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
We're here today just asking authorization to add the accountant 1 title or position to our roster. When Sheriff Shelley took office in 2023, he asked our county comptroller's office to come in and do audits of all our fiscal accounts because of an unfortunate incident that happened the year before that. And they audited all of our fiscal accounts, and the main one, the civil bank account, or the main civil account where the vulnerability was, where that awful incident happened. After the they recommended that we have to separate duties, so forth, like the person posting payments shouldn't be, doing disbursements and writing checks and so forth. They recommended that we hire someone, we had some openings at that time, and that we hire someone with some financial background or accounting, know of accounting principles to take over that, so there is that separation, so we can get rid of that vulnerability, and that's why we're here today asking for this position.
Questions?
Was that around the same time we had a meeting when we were doing the grant writing also? We went outside and we hired outside people to also.
It's very, very similar to make sure that we have the proper credentialed personnel performing those financial tasks.
So when, prior to Sheriff Shelley taking office, one person was in control of all of that, including the grants, including the civil bank account.
Right.
And had full control of having the checks, the check printer, could post payments, had access to certain permissions. We have a records management system in the civil department, and they had permissions to everything. Normally, I'll just bring up, when I was county clerk, we have an accountant, I had an accountant in there, she had no permissions to do transactions, post payments, she's accountant one, she strictly did, the bank reconciliations and so forth, and disbursements, who gets money, the county gets money, the state gets money. And that's what we're looking to do, to remove all that vulnerability in my division.
Thank you, that's why I asked, because I remember.
Any other questions?
I'll move it.
Okay, we need a seconded by Legislator Garland. Any other questions? All in favor? I also know the sheriff had a personnel transfer that he wanted to talk about, or, so I'll invite the sheriff to come up and talk about the personnel transfer.
Morning. Something unique has happened at the sheriff's office. It's never happened before. There's a section of the general municipal law that says if someone transfers from one agency to another with less than 3 years time on, the agency that's gaining that person has to pay a percentage of their wages and their police academy. Typically in the sheriff's office, the only place we lose people to is the state police. For example, a year ago we lost 2 twin brothers to the state police. What happened to us is we lost a member to Norwich PD, and he had less than 3 years on. So according to this general municipal law, they're going to owe us a percentage of that money. I mean, it's not going to be 80 million or anything like that. It's going to be a percentage. What also has happened is we have a gentleman from county of Cortland County, that wants to come up with less than 3 years. So I'm just bringing it to your attention. A big fat check might be coming from Norwich, and I'd be asking for another big fat check to be written to Cortland.
Okay.
Just to bring it to your attention.
This is similar to the paramedics and firefighters too. Some of them have that same written rule. It's not, maybe not law, but it's in their contracts. So.
The unique thing about this rule is the state police are exempt. So if you see a big check, don't squander it. I want that to try and get a guy from Cortland.
Appreciate the update.
All right.
Thank you very much. Next is number 3, local law establishing imposing liability and future operator for school bus display. Chief Reed, or Mr. Reed? Good. All of you should have, I think I gave everybody copies. Chris Reed. Ben, can you come up too, please? And then you all should have a copy of the section 1174. Okay.
So, for those of you who are at Ways and Means, you understand we're looking to pass a local law so we can implement D&T law 1174A in the county, where it gives us the ability to, through a contract with Air Mobility, install stop arm cameras on all the school buses in the participating districts, which in return will capture the evidentiary necessary to submit an administrative violation or fine to the owner of the vehicle or registered owner of the vehicle. This program is up and running in several counties throughout the state currently. It's shown a 90% rate of one-time offenders, so it's proven to reduce violations of people passing buses, which results in safer community and safer transport for our kids. Right now, we're in I think we have a 5th district that came on board since the Ways and Means Committee, so we have Janesville, DeWitt expressed interest. Right now, we have MOUs out to North Syracuse, Baldwinsville, Liverpool, East Syracuse, Sonoma, and JD now. So once this is passed, we'll be able to enter into those agreements and then start looking at a timeline of execution for installation of all the cameras on their fleet.
Your goal is still to be up and operating by the school year next year?
That's what we're shooting for right now. We're shooting for the September 2025 start of the school year for this. The idea would be that we have a pilot run with these districts so we can get a better idea of volume, potential violations, revenue, and such that goes with that.
I know there was a question about the fee structure, that it might not be stiff enough in levels 2, 3, and 4, but talking to council, it's the state law, and we're not
Right.
able to change it, so we have to stick with that. But the one nice thing was it's 90% from what you're told.
Yes.
Meaning 90% of people don't do it again, so you're looking at 10%. 10% is still too high, because God forbid this happens to somebody and somebody gets hurt. You know, that money's not gonna do anything, but, you know, it is what we have to live with for the state law. Questions?
We had the opportunity to speak a while ago. One of the questions was the drivers, because when they're ticketed, will it be the drivers that are being ticketed? Will it be the owners of vehicles?
Yeah, so similar to like any of the red light or construction zone cameras, which Bureau Mobility is also is involved in those projects as well.
Yeah.
It's an administrative fine. So what happens is the registered owner of the vehicle is who sent that fine. There's stipulations within this law that allows for the registered owner of the vehicle to civilly go after the operator of the vehicle.
The other question I asked was it considered a moving violation where they get points or something like that?
It's strictly an administrative fine. There's no moving violations associated with it.
I have a question. School buses, I assume, are regulated by the state education department with the flashing lights. Why isn't this coming under that same jurisdiction?
That I do not know.
They did it as a pilot program, Legislator Bush. They did it as a pilot program on the counties, a completely county-run and funded program. I don't know if eventually they're using us as a local pilot to see if a state implementation will work. The state has been doing red light cameras for a little while, so this might be a prelude to a state program. It is a little odd to have a county administered or local administered. It is. So I can't, I'm not sure. The state took this tact, and maybe they'll take it over in the future. But I think they're trying to see, you know.
Who wrote that legislation?
I believe it was sponsored by Magnarelli, but I'm not, the state did.
Did you read it?
Oh, yeah, I drafted a local law on it.
It's so convoluted.
It's, yes, like most state statutes, it leaves a little, to the.
Well, realistically, I think, and if I'm wrong, please, Sheriff or other sheriff, correct me, but I think the buses are regulated by Section 375 of the Vehicle and Traffic Law, the requirements for school buses. And local law enforcement enforces those laws as it is now, or local jurisdictions.
Yep.
So I think that, like, to put, okay, this is a state thing, the state should be running it. All regulations relative to school buses or passing a stop school bus are enforced locally anyway.
That's a great point, actually, and this law provides that, obviously, if the sheriff if he witnesses or they see somebody running a red light, they can pull them over and you don't get 2 tickets. We would cancel that ticket if an officer wrote them a ticket, right? Because that's a VTL violation. We wouldn't double penalize them for the same violation.
I don't think anybody's questioning the intent.
Yeah.
The safety. It's a question of how the county, the villages, the towns all get drawn into implementing this, when it really should be a state policy.
Yeah, I don't know if there's maybe, I know, I'm just speculating, but maybe there was an appetite for a statewide, so they were allowing opt-in to see if there's an appetite, how many people opt in. That might be what they're feeling out here. This is the second renewal, if you will. It was an initial 5-year period, and they extended it another 5. So what they do after 5 years, whether they take it over or they, renew or they make it permanent, I can't tell. But it does seem like it got enough traction to be renewed.
Is the revenue for the fines being collected by the towns?
Revenue is collected under this model, would be collected by the county. It's Vera Mobility and then us. It is a 55-45 split with Vera, which is a very good competitive split that we got through our RFP process. Some of the other ones were, I believe, 70-30, we get 30. So it was a good split. Part of the law is the local school district, by law, cannot have a single cost. So no school district can have an expense under this local law. So there is no cost to the locality. It's only a benefit that the county is providing.
I did hear you say it wasn't a moving violation, so how are the fines being collected and enforced?
So the way the process works is once the image is captured of a vehicle passing the stop arm.
I mean, as far as someone didn't pay their fine,
Oh,
or
so-
license suspended, or?
It's a violation. It's a violation of the VTL. It's just not what you call moving. Points aren't at issue, right? Everyone's always concerned about points when you get it. There are points.
So right now they're looking at, I think, about 72% of people pay the fines. There's outstanding, and then there's a debt collection process similar to any debt owed. As far as license suspended, I don't believe that was part of this.
I don't think it is.
I think strictly administrative wise. So then we'd have the idea we could either use Vera Mobility for an additional fee to collect the debts, or we could pursue that on our own.
And I don't believe, and even then, Vera does not go to court. So it's going to be the law department or somebody in the county attorney's office who's going to have to be going to town court, city court, every local court, and dealing with every challenge to this. The hope is the number of people who challenge it, once it becomes more known, is this your vehicle? Is this your license plate? It's hard to argue with it, and once the local courts get familiar with it, hopefully there's less court time, less challenges, but we are anticipating at least a decent percentage of people questioning it in courts or not paying. And you don't want a paper tiger, you do want to follow up on violations.
So there's right now, according to the company, you got about 5% of the people when you get outside of New York City are actually going to court on these. And so far the courts have upheld the fines in all cases.
There is one change from Ways and Means, Section 8, number A. There was no, when they report back at the end of the year, there was no report back to the legislature. So I had them add that the legislature is now part of the report process, so that we know exactly how the program's doing. So that's a change.
I will say I'm not 100% confident that every local court will be providing you the information. It says in here they should, but if they give it to us, great, we'll include it in the report. If they don't,
Part of Vera Mobility, I think they produce a report generated.
I just think something that this legislature can see.
Absolutely.
Mr. Chair.
Thanks. So clearly this has been languishing for a little while, this idea. And to me, this is very similar to the state vehicles out on 81. Now I used to pass by one Grand Cherokee. Now I pass by two Grand Cherokees with a full automated system on it. And of course, a lot of constituents and folks are getting those $50 fines for going faster than 55 in the 81 project area. So Legislator Bush's point, it is different that we're looking at this and having to do this type of thing when this has been happening, and this is kind of a state initiative, at least out there. It's different, it's very different than what we're used to in our county. I don't think that anybody has a problem with the idea, the concept of this, but it's in the details that we're having problems and questions, too many questions to be ready to vote, at least prior. So appreciate you coming in and giving some more detail. It has already been said, the fines don't make a lot of sense, at least to me, but that is what it is, and if appreciate the information. If that's the case, they only get hit once. They only do it once. That's good. responsibility, in my opinion, in driver education, but that's not our goal. So this is a good process, but obviously there's lots of folks that are interested. It's just another thing for, it's fallen down to us at the county. And, so it's a good program, but we just have a lot of questions and concerns, so.
Let me just add, when we were talking, when we met, some of the local municipalities that provide ambulance services started doing billing themselves, and then it turned out to be just very, very difficult. Now they use a third-party vendor, and actually out of Lawrenceville, and it is a better system. Yes, we pay a 9% administration fee, but they take care of collections, they take care of billing, they take care of all the insurance. So, if this company is willing to do that, I think it's in the best interest not to add more layers to the county government of employees for something that can be done by them, that's what they do for a living. So we talked about that.
I was gonna ask, are we gonna have to hire somebody?
The only anticipation on that is we don't know what the volume's gonna look like, and right now it's a one person processing it, being myself. So we'll have a better idea after we get off the ground running and we get through that first trial year. Then we'll have a better understanding of what revenue looks like and what costs the county may have to cover from that revenue.
Whether we need another lawyer. He's part-time.
I always need more lawyers.
Well, I won't argue with that.
Next. Yes.
So, Chris, you mentioned that other counties already have this program. Do you have a list of them, or could you get us a list of what counties? Do we have any data for those counties?
We have some, like Oneida County and Albany County.
Broome, Dutchess, Monroe.
Could you shoot that over to us in an
Niagara.
email? I can't write that quick.
Yes, I'll send
I
you.
appreciate
I
that.
believe there's 7 counties currently.
Yeah, I think that's probably
They're
right.
up and
Do
running.
we know how long it's been implemented?
I'll have to look at, each county's a little different. Some are newer up and running, some have been running a little bit longer. I know Suffolk.
20 to 2022 is when a lot of them look like they.
Because I imagine it's a diminishing return. The more people know about this, the more, I'm thinking legislative Burtis' district, the people driving a lot slower on 81 between Taft Road and 31, you know?
So I think we're looking at some projections. You look at maybe 40,000 tickets the first year, then you drop to you slowly decline, and then you kind of plateau out, and maybe in that 20s range, what you're looking at. And that's kind of what we got to get to. What's the plateau number going to look like?
For the stability of what we need.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, that's fun.
I appreciate the question.
Yeah. Okay. You have something?
These are some of the same ones that you and I had talked about, like hiring, but what you mentioned, sustainability. It was our understanding that the revenue, you're going to use the revenue to keep it going, but as everybody starts to learn about it with the revenue, we expect that to go down. How will we keep it going?
So I believe from the revenue projections, we sort of are seeing in other areas that it'll be self-sufficient. There wouldn't be any additional costs. Obviously, it's too soon to say that firmly.
Right.
The only thing we'll have to figure out is after we get running and we have that plateau and more of a steady stream of whatever that revenue looks like, then we can discuss what to do with that money.
So just building off of that, I think, once you add more districts on, it's a whole new people, a group of people who aren't familiar with this, so there is the build-out period when we get as many districts as want to join in. Then the initial period is posting of signs, right? So about 100 locations will have to post signs informing people of the school bus law. So that's an expense initially. There'll be, some of Chris's time in reviewing that will account for attorney time. So once we get a sense of those initial costs, but then, those initial costs could be made whole from the initial revenue. And then the idea is when the tickets go down, that's less attorney time, that's less review time. So hopefully it all levels out, and Vera takes theirs off with the tickets that come in. So less tickets, there's less revenue going around. There isn't a flat fee we owe them, it's a percentage-based system. So it is set up as a program to be self-sufficient.
Yeah, like I said, we have 5 districts to start with. We'll get a kind of a good idea, towards the end of the first school year of where we're at with those 5 districts, but then we add another 5 or whatever the case may be, then we're going to get that peak again, and then another plateau.
Yeah, and it doesn't start until September of next year, and it's really hard. It's going to be very hard. We won't know until not even a year from now.
Right. And that 30-day warning period when it initially starts, is that required by law?
So the signage, and I believe there's a warning period also in there.
The signage is by law, and I believe there's an informational program. We did take
Is that
this.
required?
No, we
Then
did
why
take.
don't we just do our education August 1st and then just start, so we can get this up and running at the start of the school year?
Yeah, that's steps we're looking at now is a coordinated effort with the school districts on a PR campaign. The company actually provides a lot of informational stuff for PSAs and notification of the public. The only thing we're really looking at now is a signage initially, what our initial costs may be on that, which is.
But the 30 days is built into the law. We saw that in another one, we discussed it internally, and it was our way of complying with the informational period without really hitting everybody with tickets right off the bat. It's 1 month. It's optional, to your point, if you know, the legislature isn't a big fan, we can get rid of that 30-day period. But it was sort of a courtesy just because a lot of people wouldn't be. The news is out there now, so there's more information now than there was when this initially rolled out a couple years ago when I originally drafted that provision. It was a little less known, but it was just kind of our grace period, if you will, that also jumps kind of.
Yeah. And again, the signs are being made through our DOT, so we're not going to, it's gonna be an internal thing. So the cost of the signs, the cost of Christmas time, the cost of fence time, that'll be our initial startup, and then we'll see where we go from there. But then you'll have the same thing when you start the next districts. So I think it's a program worthwhile.
And another thing, once we get maybe 2 years down the road, whatever, an idea of what the costs are gonna be versus the revenue coming in, is there a provision to reuse that money to traffic safety programs, education programs, offset stop DWI costs? Since the money's coming from traffic safety, or lack of, if you will, you know, it almost seems appropriate to reinvest it in that.
And I think those are the discussions we'll have once we have a better idea of what the revenue is gonna look like, and then we can have a discussion on to where it's best utilized back in the community.
This is minor, but talking about reinvesting the money, what's the lifespan of the cameras and the technology itself?
So I couldn't tell you the exact lifespan, however, with our contract with Vera, that's all on them.
That's all I know, so
we
they
don't-
in place?
We don't owe any of it, we don't, they pay for their maintenance and all that through their revenue sharing of the program. So we have no expenses related to that.
And Chris set up a good and productive meeting with the school districts and the bus operators. And I think they were pleased with how Vera, you know, how they fill gaps, how things are actually attached. Are there gonna be, you know, they got really into the technical that I can't say now about ports and, you know, it's just gonna be available, so I think they really had a productive, and it's, you know, the idea here is to make it so that when the camera's removed, you can't even notice they were ever on, and that they're not damaging these buses anyways, and they can be periodically updated, and so they got a really good system going.
That was one of the concerns from districts, you know, we're gonna have costs associated with repairing our buses, and the answer is no. So they restore the bus to as much of whole as they can, so it's minimal, they would not know a camera was on it.
And we need the summer to do the installs, so that when it comes school year, they're ready to go. So that's why the timing is what we're doing and how we're doing it. It's all been thought out, processed.
One last thing, I feel like I'm talking a lot, but I received some correspondence from some local municipalities indicating that they believe this should be more of a local program instead of a county-run program.
Yep.
Now, my take on that, if I'm wrong, but please correct me, is legally, let's just say you have a school district like North Syracuse. And, you know, they want to control it at the local North Syracuse level. Because North Syracuse School District covers part of the town of Clay, part of the town of Cicero, the village of North Syracuse, and part of the town of Salina, that jurisdiction may not have, or that municipality of the village may not have jurisdiction over offenses. Is that correct?
Yes.
That's my understanding.
Which is why the county implementing this gives a wider coverage area for a whole school district?
There's like two parts in it. So there's also the county districts, or the jurisdictions you're not thinking of, like where Bishop Ludden is, Bishop Grimes, the STEAM school. So you actually touch a lot of districts or jurisdictions that are outside the general district map.
Right.
In addition, like, so if say North Syracuse was to break off and we didn't pass this, the next district that wants to come in would have no choice to either do it on their own, or we would pass a local law for them, and that's gonna supersede that local jurisdiction anyways.
Okay.
So we kind of are in either we're in or we're out.
The
in a
state-
situation.
Exactly. The state law does make it that if the county acts, they supersede for exactly that. How else do you operate a program, county with each individual having their own, right? And exactly to your point, the village's jurisdiction is the village boundaries. So they can't enforce any law outside of their jurisdiction. So the extent a school district goes and that bus crosses that line, all of a sudden they're outside the district, they have to do. And the other part is signage. I mean, they would have to sign every road into and out of the village, and every village or town would have to do that as well. So each of those individual obligations go into court, somebody reviewing, the staffing time would all have to be done on an individual jurisdictional basis in a piecemeal fashion. So, I mean, it is an option. You know, this has been around since about 2020, and so and now we're here, right? 2019. So I hadn't heard anything until now. It is an option on the localities, but it's sort of one or the other, right? And I think my personal opinion is kind of yours. It's a lot of, it only takes you so far, and it's a lot of local expense burden, and also there's a lot of limitations just jurisdictionally.
Okay, yeah, that's the question I had. Just
That's very logical, because I do know in some school districts, you don't live in the district, and you do have some kids that get picked up by the bus in different districts.
There's quite a few of those,
Like
actually.
in Liverpool,
Yeah. The child gets in a foster situation or something, they're bused from wherever to the other district.
OC school.
OCs.
Students with disabilities.
Thank you.
And district lines cross the county line in certain school districts.
Right, they go right into Central Square.
That is an interesting issue.
So
This goes back, it should be a state.
There you go. Yep.
Now,
That would, I would think if they got outside, I think we're limited at the county line.
So that was a
too, so.
question I was gonna have for you actually, because the JD buses one kid to a night account. So
Yeah.
there was some clarification we do have on some of that legal jurisdiction,
Yeah.
or do we need an MOU with that
The
county?
kids-
Vice versa, because I'm sure Oswego has buses.
But in that case, the bus wouldn't stop except at the school in Oneida County.
So you probably
any
wouldn't have-
violations for pickup would occur within the county lines. The only location they should be stopping out of county would be at the school.
That's a very good point.
The only
Yep.
exception,
Yep.
like you said, the kids that are getting bused out of a district to another district, but that's still within our boundaries, so.
Mr. Chairman.
So, yeah, so of course it should be state, but the languaging, state hasn't acted. So we're here talking about bus safety and safety of our children. Just back to the grace period again. While I understand it, I still don't understand it. We're talking about safety of a child. I don't know about a grace period, frankly. You pass a school bus, I don't care if you were told or not, you could have some signage, agree with that, but after that, receive a ticket and a fine. It's not like it's a pointable offense. This is just a penalty, a fine. So, yeah, I'm not so interested. It's not, yeah, it's not, yeah, right.
An actual police officer issued ticket, so I don't like that. That's the reason.
Issues, that's what I was saying, there's some issues inside here, but to the point that's been going around the table, right? So this is something the state should be doing, they're not doing it. I think we should do it, even given everything, post their grace period. You get behind a wheel, the folks that are in the room from law enforcement, I don't think there's any grace there. I'm not really interested in grace on this either when it comes to safety of our children.
General consensus, I mean, I don't know if this is going to Ways and Means too, but I can certainly, the 20th is local law day, so I just want to make any changes before that, but I mean, I can scrub that provision.
I like taking that out.
It's general.
It's like Rich said, this is not new.
Especially in
I mean,
September.
it is already, you don't do it.
This was more of 19 when it was first
Right,
came out. Yep.
and in September is when school buses are first out there, kids are first going back to school, I think that's when it's most important for people to be aware of it. And I think you may have a higher percentage of offenses occur, I'm guessing. So, yeah, I'm in favor of doing away with the grace period.
This company, this third party, did you do an RFP?
Yes, yep. So we did a competitive bid for this already. It was done before, but we never executed the contract. So it's still a valid RFP in competitive procurement. Yep.
Do you recall how many people responded to that? How many companies?
I think it was 2. We put it out to everybody, and we had 2 to 3, I believe. One, I believe, did not respond.
And how long an agreement do we have with this company?
That's a great
I've got it
question.
right here.
Yeah, I think
It's on your packet, it's on your packet. I put it on the front of your packet.
It's
The 3-year agreement with a 2-year option.
Thank you.
Okay, 'cause I wrote-
I thought it was.
It's right on the front.
I thought it was.
Oh, you wrote it in, that's, I'm sorry.
That was one of my questions in our meeting.
One more question. You mentioned this, you're gonna start out with municipalities that own their own transportation?
Well, it just happens to work out that
Right.
these districts all do own their own fleet. If they did not, it wouldn't have changed anything. It just would have been an added
Three-party
MOU.
agreement,
It would have added another person to the agreement, the vendor of the bus company.
That's what I was gonna ask. If they're contracting out, do you foresee, an additional fee charge working with them? Because you'll be modifying their fleet, so to speak.
No, but there could be some interesting contract provisions from the school district and the bus company that could come into play. But I'm not anticipating, I mean, really, there's no cost to the company.
Right.
They might have a little bit more issue with things coming out of their bus,
Yeah.
but also, they're serving a district with it's not a great look to, no, we don't want cameras for kids, So I'm hoping not, but I can anticipate maybe one or two added folds or a little bit more negotiation if a private bus company was involved as well.
If
But
any municipalities out there contracting with the third party, are we letting them know right now, a heads up, so to speak, that this is what we're starting, this is what we'll be implementing?
we sort of had an open, we started with a couple, but JD reached out and they're in the fold now. So it's sort of an open enrollment, if you will. And I think we're using this time to really get good district comments on the MOU. So we hopefully can get a, single MOU that every district can live with maybe a couple caveats for if it's a private bus company. But it's, as far as I know, it's kind of open enrollment. If people are interested, we're getting out there. Obviously now it's in the news. We'll take all inquiries from any district that's interested in the county.
I think some are probably going, okay, let's see how it goes.
I had a feeling,
I think it's a great program, whoever came out with this, just promoting the safety of our kids. There's nothing more important as a legislative body we can do. So thank you for your efforts.
The stats were pretty astounding. I don't see many people do it, but apparently they're out there running red lights, so.
Okay, good. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Do we need a motion on this?
No.
or-
So that's the end of our agenda. We'll adjourn. Thank you very much.